I'd been swiping for months, a monotonous blur of faces and bios, when I stumbled upon Sarah. Her profile was simple: a few well-lit selfies, a love for hiking, and a quirky bio about her obsession with vintage horror films. She seemed normal, charming even. We matched, and our conversation flowed effortlessly. We talked for hours, sharing obscure movie references and laughing at bad dating app cliches. It felt easy. Too easy, maybe. We decided to meet for coffee at a small independent cafe downtown. The date was great. Sarah was even more engaging in person, her eyes sparkling when she talked about her favorite horror directors. We spent 2 hours just chatting, and I felt a genuine connection. As we were leaving, she mentioned she lived just a few blocks away and offered to walk me to my car. I thought nothing of it. We said our goodbyes, and I drove home, feeling a rare sense of optimism. I texted her later that night, thanking her for a great time. She replied almost instantly, a simple, "You too." The next day, things started to get weird. I woke up to a text from Sarah. "Did you sleep well? I saw your light on late last night." My blood ran cold. How could she have seen my light? I lived on the 3rd floor of an apartment building with no direct line of sight from the street. I brushed it off as a strange coincidence. Maybe she was just being playful. But then, a few hours later, another text. "Your cat is so cute. What's his name?" "I don't have a cat," I replied, confused, telling her she must have me confused with someone else. Her response, "Oh, my bad. Thought I saw a tabby in your window. Must have been a neighbor." The hairs on my neck stood up. I have a tabby cat. His name is Jasper, and he was sitting in my window last night. I started to feel a creeping dread. I checked my windows, my locks. Everything was secure. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe she lived in the building across the street, but her profile said she lived blocks away. I decided to block her number and unmatch her on the app. I felt a pang of guilt, but my unease was growing. For the next few days, I was on edge. Every shadow seemed to move. Every creak of the building made me jump. I started taking different routes to work, checking my rearview mirror constantly. I felt like I was being watched, but I couldn't shake the feeling that it was all in my head. Then, a week later, I received a package. No return address, just my name. Inside was a small, antique music box. As I opened it, a distorted, tinny melody began to play. It was the theme song from Psycho. And tucked inside, a small, handwritten note. "Some connections are impossible to break. See you soon." My hands trembled. I knew it was her. She wasn't just watching me, she was playing with me. I moved out of that apartment a month later, changed my number, and deleted all my social media. I haven't used a dating app since, because sometimes the person you meet online isn't just looking for a date, they're looking for a new obsession, and they'll use every algorithm, every digital footprint to find you.
I was tired of the endless swiping and superficial chats. I wanted something real, a genuine connection. So when Mark, a charming guy with a kind smile and a love for indie music, suggested a group outing for our first date, I was intrigued. He said his friends were having a bonfire by the lake, and it would be a casual way to meet everyone. It sounded fun, less pressure than a one-on-one. I agreed, feeling a flicker of excitement. I arrived at the lake as the sun was setting, the air thick with the smell of pine and wood smoke. Mark greeted me with a warm hug, introducing me to his friends. They were a tight-knit group, a mix of guys and girls, all laughing and joking around the bonfire. They seemed friendly enough, but there was an intensity in their eyes, a shared inside joke that I couldn't quite grasp. As the night wore on, the conversations grew stranger. They talked about their rituals and sacrifices, laughing it off as dark humor. But their eyes weren't laughing. Mark was attentive, always making sure I had a drink, always touching my arm or back. It felt comforting at first, but then it became suffocating. Every time I tried to engage with someone else, he'd pull me back, his grip a little too firm. As the night deepened, the bonfire crackled, casting dancing shadows that seemed to twist and writhe. The air grew colder, and a strange, metallic scent began to mingle with the wood smoke. I felt a growing unease, a prickle of fear that something was very wrong. Then, one of Mark's friends, a girl with unnervingly bright eyes, started telling a story. It was about a group of outsiders who stumbled upon a secret gathering by the lake, a gathering that ended badly. Her voice was low, hypnotic, and the others listened with rapt attention, their faces illuminated by the flickering flames. As she spoke, I noticed them exchanging glances, subtle nods, almost imperceptible smiles. It was like they were sharing a secret, a dark, twisted secret that I was unknowingly a part of. I tried to make an excuse to leave, but Mark's grip tightened on my arm. "Where are you going, Chloe? The party's just getting started." His smile was wide, but his eyes were cold, devoid of warmth. I felt a surge of panic. I knew I had to get out. I pulled away from him, my heart pounding, and started walking towards my car. His friends stood up, their shadows long and distorted in the firelight, blocking my path. "Don't be rude, Chloe," Mark said, his voice now a low growl. "You wouldn't want to upset us." I ran. I ran as fast as I could, their laughter echoing behind me, distorted and chilling. I fumbled with my keys, my hand shaking so badly I could barely unlock the door. I threw myself inside, locked the doors, and sped away, leaving the bonfire and the unsettling laughter behind. I never looked back. I deleted the dating app, changed my number, and moved to a different city. I still have nightmares about that night, about the flickering shadows and the cold, predatory eyes. I learned that some group dates aren't about finding love. They're about finding a new member for their twisted game, and you might just be the next sacrifice.
I was a cynical veteran of the dating app scene. I'd seen it all. The catfishing, the ghosting, the endless parade of bland conversations. So when I matched with a girl named Lily, whose profile picture was a blurry, pixelated selfie taken in what looked like an abandoned asylum, I was intrigued. It was different, unsettling, and frankly, a little exciting. Her bio was equally cryptic. Seeking someone who understands the beauty in the macabre. No normies, please. We started chatting, and her messages were as strange as her profile. She spoke in riddles, hinted at dark secrets, and seemed to have an encyclopedic knowledge of urban legends and true crime. I found myself drawn in, fascinated by her eccentricities. She suggested we meet at an old, supposedly haunted, abandoned factory on the outskirts of town. My rational mind screamed no, but my curiosity and a strange sense of morbid attraction won out. I told a friend where I was going, just in case, and headed to the meeting point. The factory was even more desolate than I imagined. Broken windows stared like empty eyes, and the wind whistled through the decaying structure, creating an eerie symphony. I waited for a few minutes, my heart thumping a nervous rhythm against my ribs. Then, I saw her. A figure emerged from the shadows, her face obscured by a wide-brimmed hat. She was wearing a long, dark coat, even though it was a warm evening. As she approached, I noticed something else. She was carrying a large, worn leather bag. Her voice was soft, almost a whisper, but it carried an unsettling undertone. "You came," she said. Her eyes, even in the dim light, seemed to pierce through me. We walked through the abandoned factory, her leading the way, her movements fluid and silent. She pointed out rusted machinery, crumbling walls, and dark, gaping holes in the floor, telling me stories of the factory's dark past, of accidents and disappearances. Her stories were vivid, unsettling, and I found myself increasingly unnerved. I kept glancing at her bag, wondering what she carried inside. We reached a large, open area where moonlight streamed through a gaping hole in the roof. She stopped, turned to me, and slowly reached into her bag. My heart pounded. This was it. This was where the horror began. She pulled out a camera. A vintage, large-format camera, the kind with a black cloth you put over your head. "I need a new profile picture," she whispered, her eyes gleaming in the moonlight. "And you, my dear, are going to be in it." I laughed, a nervous, shaky sound. "You're kidding, right?" She didn't laugh back. Her expression was serious, almost predatory. "Stand there," she commanded, pointing to a spot directly under the moonlight. I hesitated, but something in her gaze compelled me. I stood where she indicated, feeling exposed and vulnerable. She adjusted the camera, disappearing under the black cloth. I heard the click of the shutter, a loud, definitive sound that echoed through the empty factory. Then she emerged, a strange, satisfied smile on her face. "Perfect," she said. "Now, for the next one." She pulled out a small, ornate dagger from her bag. My blood ran cold. "What are you doing?" I stammered, my voice barely a whisper. "Art," she replied, her eyes fixed on me. "True art requires sacrifice." I didn't wait to find out what kind of sacrifice she had in mind. I turned and ran, not caring where I was going, just away from her, away from that factory, away from the chilling gleam of the dagger. I heard her laughter echoing behind me, a high-pitched, almost joyful sound that still haunts my nightmares. I never saw her again. I deleted all my dating apps and I haven't looked back. I still don't know what she intended to do with that dagger or what kind of art she was creating, but I know this: some people on dating apps aren't looking for a connection. They're looking for a canvas, and you might just be their next masterpiece, whether you like it or not.